Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Nicola Prendergast-Lucas, and I'm an assistant professor at University of Arizona Global Campus and also a co-host for the Culture of Care Summit.
And I am Ted Ellis, co-host for this session, and I am program chair for the Bachelor of Arts in Social and Criminal Justice and Master of Science in Criminal Justice programs at the University of Arizona Global Campus.
We're pleased to welcome you to this panel titled Supporting Online Colleagues in a Culture of Care. This is sponsored by the College of Arts and Sciences and facilitated by UAGC Department of Behavioral Sciences. We hope you enjoy the session. Some of you here know our speakers, so please feel free to use the chat in welcoming them, and I will let them introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am Jen Robinson, and I'm a program chair and associate professor in the School of General Studies. I have the distinct pleasure of leading this panel through a discussion about caring for specifically our adjunct colleagues in a culture of care. This panel of very caring individuals we will learn from today is comprised of Eleanor Froschmeyer, lovingly known as Ellie, Michael Robinson, Tanya Mooney, Maya Zelihich, Ellen Beatty, and Rich Freese. Rebecca sends her good wishes for today, and I do encourage you to read her chapter. This team of expert colleagues have recently published chapters in a book about supporting our colleagues in an online environment. Our goal today is to share literature-based ideas for supporting our colleagues, especially our adjunct colleagues, within a culture of care. While our time together will be short, we encourage you to reach out to any of us for further conversations. So at this point, I am going to stop sharing our PowerPoint and there we go. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to post them in the chat, and we're going to engage with you as we move throughout this panel through the chat. And if there's time at the end, we will definitely engage with you. So I'm going to start with Ellie. Ellie, in your chapter, you shared about being a new faculty member. When you think of onboarding of new faculty, what are some things we can do to onboard our new faculty within a culture of care? In other words, what supports can be provided to new faculty to ease their transition into online teaching and learning?
That is a very good question. So my chapter focuses on kind of creating that space for adjunct instructors to learn and also be supported within the organization. With that being said, I think the important overall theme is to be adaptable. With a lot of instructors, adjunct instructors, they come from different backgrounds. Fortunately, I come from a background within a higher education, so I do know where a lot of that information comes from when it comes to working with students one-on-one. Fortunately, I also came from a position where I work fully online as an academic advisor, so I knew the systems pretty well too. But just with COVID happening and everything, a lot of people that I've noticed through the organizational communities and professional communities are getting into adjunct teaching. The biggest thing is to making sure that they understand, like, yes, the student experience is great, either online or on campus, but there is a difference between the two. So making sure and having that adaptability and working one-on-one, case by case with each instructor will help in the long run. So this can look through like on one-on-ones monthly with your team. This could look through check-ins throughout your first course that you teach. This could be rapport building with your peers, doing extra things like, writing a book chapter. But in the long run, what UAGC does really well that I really appreciate was having that scenario classroom. So being able to get that experience offhand also helped in the long run. But I think overall, the biggest thing is to have that adaptability within the organization to make sure we are supporting our adjuncts, no matter what backgrounds they come from, especially when we do the same thing for our students.
Oh, Ellie, I love that. What a great segue then into Rich's question. And Rich, as a pedagogical tool, video can be used for teaching and connection. How might course and program leaders use videos as a strategy for building a culture of care across the virtual workplace?
Yeah, great question. And yeah, again, with context with this book, again, it was wonderful being able to write about ideas for faculty and people supporting faculty about creating instructional media, giving those faculty kind of tools for their next gig, wherever they might bring them in the adjunct world. This can look like a lot of things as far as the virtual workplace. I think the two big things is support and modeling. So how is anyone in a leadership position able to support anyone who is, for example, creating video content, whether that's a lecture, whether it's any kind of media? It's one thing to be able to say like, okay, I need you to do this. It's another, okay, here is the content you're going to be creating. And by the way, here are our program's best practices. Here's the contact people information about people who can assist you. Here's how you can make it easier. Here's how you can design it so that students are going to be more likely to interact with it, or that audiences are going to maybe find it more engaging. Or even, here's this body of work that's already been created. Here's how you can add your own touches, your own variations, your own things that you want to highlight and make it your own and personalize it. In general, I'm a big fan of low lift, high impact. And if there's any way we can avoid reinventing the wheel, I'm a big fan of that. So I mentioned support. And then again, I think modeling is just huge. So whether that is in a video like meeting or creating content, you know, I like to imagine a world where every time the leadership in any kind of organization is sharing content, presenting content, that people look at that and think like, yes, that is how I want to do it. This is an awesome model. Now, I am not saying that everything needs to be like a TED Talk or anything along those lines, but, you know, just some easy examples. Let's say, you know, right now we're in a virtual meeting. Let's say you're presenting in the virtual meeting. One little thing they can do is just with your slides, or especially if this is like a hybrid meeting, having just room on your slides so that this is like the bar where we can see people's faces. These are the bar where like with their controls, so that like that's not getting blocked. Making, you know, looking at the best practices for making slides. And I'm also a big fan of with presenting, describing those slides and explaining what its relevance is. That's especially helpful for anyone who might have a vision impairment or is only able to take in the audio, just kind of modeling those best practices. And again, there is no one best way to do these sort of things. There's so many, but these are at least some ideas that have worked for me, and I hope they work for you.
Thank you, Rich. I love those ideas of low lift, high impact, and including diverse needs in our virtual meetings. Those are really important, which brings us right to Ellen. As we turn to you, I would love to know your perspective on how we can use positive psychology in our interactions with our adjunct faculty peers as a way to build a culture of care.
Thank you, Jen. One of my favorite topics. Positive psychology is the scientific study of what enables individuals and communities to flourish. It provides a rich framework for enhancing our academic environment through the cultivation of three things: meaningful connections, the fostering of positive emotions, and the application of a strengths-based approach. As we seek to create a more unified and supportive atmosphere for both full-time and adjunct faculty, these core elements of positive psychology offer invaluable strategies for bridging divides and fostering a collaborative spirit. Central to this approach is the recognition of meaningful connections. those that transcend mere professional courtesies and can significantly enhance the sense of being, of belonging, and of purpose. Through intentional strategies such as mentorship programs, collaborative research projects, or inclusive departmental activities, we can foster a sense of community and shared purpose. These connections are not just social niceties, they are the foundation on which collaborative and supportive academic cultures are built. Let's talk about positive emotions. The deliberate cultivation of positive emotions within our faculty can transform our everyday experiences. By celebrating successes, recognizing contributions, and creating moments of joy and gratitude in our interactions, we contribute to an atmosphere where positive emotions can flourish. This not only boosts individual well-being, but enhances group dynamics. And in addition to fostering meaningful connections and positive emotions, employing a strengths-based model within our academic community can significantly contribute to a more productive and supportive environment. This approach focuses on the identification and utilization of individual strengths and talents. By recognizing and leveraging the unique capabilities of every faculty member, we not only enhance individual self-efficacy and unique capabilities that everyone brings, but we also promote a culture of collaboration and mutual respect. Encouraging faculty to operate from a strengths-based model allows for more engaged teaching, more innovative research, and effective collaborations. It allows for a diverse range of perspectives and skills to be brought to the forefront, enriching the academic experience for all involved. Implementing a strengths-based framework within our departments can transform the dynamics between our full-time and adjunct faculty members, creating a more inclusive and dynamic academic and community where all members feel valued and empowered to contribute their best. In essence, by embedding the principles of positive psychology into our practices, we can build a more supportive, connected, and emotionally enriching academic community for faculty members regardless of employment status. This approach not only benefits our individual faculty members, but also elevates the quality of education and research coming out of our institution.
Ellen, I love that. Meaningful connection, fostering positive emotions, strength-based approach. And that brings us right into Michael. Your emphasis on well-being is crucial to all things we do. Can you give us one very impactful strategy we can use to care for ourselves within a culture of care to minimize compassion fatigue?
Yeah, thank you, Jen, for having me. I'm honored to be here. Before we get started into that, just some context for people. Adjunct faculty are typically temporary part-time faculty that may only teach one class, but they may teach at multiple institutions. So that creates more of a limitation on their abilities to balance work and life at the same time. They deal with low wages, often a lack of benefits like healthcare, job security, and sometimes poor working conditions. So about 10 years ago, I transitioned from being a K-12 teacher that experienced a lot of emotional exhaustion into higher ed, and I started researching a lot about burnout and emotional exhaustion. I found that the number one thing is maintaining work-life balance through dispositional mindfulness practices. Now, that seems, Eastern philosophy to a lot of people, but really the three key dimensions of mindfulness are the capacity to pay attention to the present moment, the capacity to recognize and label your emotions in the present moment, and the capacity to refine your self-awareness. So, this plays a part into work-life balance because the practices themselves allow individuals to compartmentalize and really enjoy the time they have outside of work, no matter how long the period may be. If an adjunct instructor is stressed about personal finances or lack of benefits or time off, mindfulness can really allow them to focus on the task at hand, not cognitively stray away and think about things other than the present moment. And it gives students a more focused learning experience. So as a skill set, instructors who practice dispositional mindfulness have been more mindful in their daily lives, have had higher quality relationships with students and colleagues. And, you know, it really allows you to enjoy your time away from work a little bit more because you're really focusing on that.
Michael, I love that shift in perspective about work-life balance, because it doesn't exist 100%, right? But it's how we react in that moment that can help us find balance. Tanya, I'm going to turn to you now. And as a course lead, excuse me, what are the big impact action items you use to support adjunct faculty colleagues within a culture of care in high enrollment courses?
Great question, Jen. And I hope everybody is going to be able to see all the common threads now starting to come together as I speak to leadership, the chairs in these programs. So yes, Jen and I teach in a program in which course enrollments are 40 students or plus in a 5-week course. So we often feel like we're in the Indy 500. We need to intentionally seek ways then to support our adjunct, taking into consideration all the unique challenges that our instructors face that you've heard about. So consider this fact: a majority of our classes are taught by adjunct faculty. So since they teach a majority of our students, it's essential that our adjunct feel supported, valued, and connected. Most of us know that our students are more successful when they have the sense of belonging, and the same is true for our faculty. Research has also shown that the chair or the direct supervisor has the most influence on an adjunct's sense of belonging. So in our program, Dr. Robinson and I are these influencers, if you will, and we realize that we need our faculty to feel like they belong to a family. So here's 3 practices we use to create a culture of care for our faculty in these high enrollment courses. First, we show them we're available and responsive. Next, we show them that we have an interactive community and provide those high quality resources that some of you have spoken about. And thirdly, we live and breathe a same team or golden rule mindset. Faculty teaching these high enrollment classes, they need to be efficient. And when they need help, it needs to be timely. So faculty might have only a specific range of hours they can work in. So Jen and I, we reply as quickly as possible. Just as it's important to have time for students, it's equally or more important to have time for our faculty. These email responses can also create a tone of belonging. Think about this: our students know when instructors are rushed and don't have time for them. You know when an email or an interaction seems cold or short or impersonable. So try to remember that feeling you get when you received an email that made you feel like you're part of the team and it was quick. Do you remember how it made you feel? Well, if you do, this is the type of interactions we try to create between ourselves and our team members every time if possible. We also try to communicate our availability through things like coffee grabs. They're not intended for shop talk, and it's where faculty just can come and join and talk and share about what's going on in our lives to make those authentic connections. Next, we build interactive community with high quality resources through our faculty lounge. The faculty lounge provides not only interactions, but resources for faculty to draw from so they can focus their time on the one-on-one help that some of our high need students really need, rather than the time it takes to create generic announcements and other common content. We can provide that for them. We also understand and expect that our faculty are going to have the same emergencies that our students and ourselves, I guess, experience: a new baby, death, illness. So these resources also provided to our faculty ensure that students still receive high quality interactions during times when our faculty just don't have the cognitive or emotional space that they typically have. And lastly, our final practice is really adopting a same team mindset. We view our faculty as the leaders in our program, and my role is to support them. I work for them. They're part of the team, and our team all want our students to succeed. So leadership has to have that same team mindset. use the golden rule. It helps me interact and treat our team members the same way that I wish I would have been treated when I was an adjunct faculty. And the bottom line is we support faculty in high enrollment courses through our availability, the interactive community, providing them with high quality resources, and viewing them as valued teammates working towards a common goal. This requires leadership to consider practices with an intentional mindset to create the same culture of care for faculty as we do for our students. So thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Tanya. I love that. The time we put into supporting our faculty translates into time they have for students. So Maya, speaking of leadership, we're going to turn to you as our last but not least. As a leader with a lens that the rest of the panel does not have, what high impact practice have you seen and should be used more broadly across the university to care for our adjunct faculty colleagues?
I think the first step is very simple, and actually Tanya mentioned the concept of perception, what we perceive as a meaningful interaction versus what meaningful interaction entails. So I would say getting to know folks that work on your team. So that applies across the board, your full-time faculty, your adjunct faculty, staff members, getting to know each other and open communication. A lot of times we encounter sadly leaders that are advertising open communication, but that perhaps sometimes they're not receptive of feedback and they're not really good listeners, because we've seen all the research studies as to how much time we spend actually listening versus preparing our response. Empathy and compassion, and sometimes we are overusing those words. Getting to know someone, understand where they're coming from as far as with their needs, with their desires, with their passion, is of an incredible importance. Our program chairs and faculty members are meeting with adjunct faculty, whether it's through the workshops, webinars, emails, or some teams are doing actually pretty extensive one-on-ones. I'm doing the same with the full-time faculty members. Sometimes it does take me a little bit longer, but I do touch base with all of my faculty one-on-one. And one of the questions I ask them is what motivates you? What's your passion? And not necessarily just within the workplace. Tell me a little bit about yourself and tell me a little bit what makes you makes you go further in life as far as your areas of expertise and your passion areas. And if you have those two things at work, you're very fortunate. But sometimes you have a really good work environment, but you also have to pursue some of your passions elsewhere as well. So that concept of empathy and compassion is very much foundational when it comes to getting to know someone, getting to understand what gets them going, also understand what some opportunities and challenges they may have. I'm also trying, it is a work in progress, to lead by example. Get myself into the trenches with everyone else, understand some of the pain points, and also understand some of the things that we're doing incredibly well. The same thing has to happen with our adjuncts. And Jen, you were referencing our chapter several times as part of this discussion. Supporting global adjuncts, supporting US-based adjuncts, the common grounds are incredibly similar. It is leaders leading by example, open communication at all times, being willing to listen and hear, and also act on some of the feedback that you're getting, and also making sure that they do feel part of the community and part of the team. Sometimes when you work with adjuncts across the world, depending upon different universities, that is even a tougher task. And we're encountering that as we're working with some of our staff members that are located out overseas. For example, one vendor that comes in mind, Learning Mate, understanding similarities, understanding differences, and also leading with care. And as leaders, making sure that we set the right example. So those will be some of the best practices during the venue of the short time period we have as part of this panel to share.
Thank you so much to all of our presenters today. As our time winds down, please feel free to reach out to any of us for further conversations. I'm happy to facilitate those connections. We know that you have had so many options for today. We appreciate you coming here, and we hope you're walking away with one action item that you can use to build connection with your adjunct faculty.
Well, big thank you to each presenter and for their time and insights. And that concludes our Supporting Colleagues in a Culture of Care session. Thank you for joining us. We hope you found the conversation inspiring. On behalf of the Department of Behavioral Sciences and the University of Arizona Global Campus, Thank you, and please have a great rest of your day.